Let's get back to the politics in Thailand, which is searching for a new leader after Srettha Thavisin was removed from office by the Constitutional Court, finding he had breached ethics standards. We're joined by Mathis Lohatepanont from Bangkok. He's a Thai political scientist from the University of Michigan. Thanks for joining us. Now, earlier we spoke to our correspondent. He said instability because the sense that with the removal of Srettha Thavisin, an equilibrium that was reached, perhaps an uneasy alliance, that is now upset, and we're looking at a redrawing of lines. If you could very quickly explain for us what that alliance was, what it involved, and what these lines that need redrawing, what would those involve now?
Yes, so at the 2023 general election last year, what had happened was that the Pheu Thai party, which is affiliated with former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, had forged a grand compromise with the conservative parties that they had been in conflict with for the better half of 2 decades. And it is, from that point on, they had joined together in a coalition to form a government in order to keep out the Move Forward Party, now dissolved, it's turned into the People's Party, to make sure that they would not be able to come into power. What this ruling has demonstrated is that even though this grand compromise was forged between the Conservatives and the Thaksin-affiliated party Pheu Thai, the Thaksinite Prime Minister is not necessarily safe. He was still removed by a ruling of the Constitutional Court, and now I would caution probably against, trying to interpret the Conservative establishment as a unitary actor. It was clear that it was only some elements of the Conservatives that had launched this case against Pheu Thai and against Prime Minister Srettha. So it's still unclear where exactly the new battle lines are being drawn, but it is clear that the grand compromise itself has come under quite severe strain.
All right. I put this crudely, and I'm sure, as you say, it's not unitary, and it's certainly not a single. If we even consider one faction, it is never a single uniform faction. But very roughly, we can see the different interest groups, I suppose, the military, the pro-royalty establishment, the relatively more progressive parties, earlier the Move Forward Party, now reformed as the People's Party, and then we've got the Pheu Thai Party as well. So all these different interest groups. If we look at who is likely to be Prime Minister after Friday, let's hope Friday, where do you see each one making his pitch, and therefore which person likely to emerge as leader after Friday?
Yes, so it might be a his pitch or it might be a her pitch. We're still not quite sure at all who will be the next Prime Minister. Due to a quirk of the 2017 constitution in Thailand, the parliament is not free to select whoever it wants as Prime Minister. It can only select from a bank of candidates that was submitted last year at the general election, and it cannot select anyone not in that list. So we know who the candidates are limited to. Number one, Pheu Thai still has 2 other candidates, Pathongthai Shinawatra, who is the daughter of former Prime Minister Thaksin, and also Chaikasem Nitiksit, the former Minister of Justice. It's usually said that Kun Pathongthai might be a little bit too inexperienced to become Prime Minister at this juncture. She has quite little political experience. But so far, Pheu Thai has been quite adamant today that they still have these 2 candidates that they may potentially want to propose. If in the end, however, they're not able to come to a deal...
Pardon me for cutting in, Mr. Lohatepanont. Is it possible that we might have other claimants or other potential candidates, such as Bumchai Thai's Anutin, who is a minister right now, and his party has a more than 60% position in the Senate? Isn't he in a very good position?
Yes, although previously, according to the Constitution, the Senate could have joined with the lower house in picking a prime minister. Now that clause in the Constitution has expired, so that's no longer a possibility. But regardless, as the leader of the second biggest party in the coalition, Anutin has a claim as good as any. He would, if the premiership were truly to fall out of Pheu Thai's hands, it would most likely be him that claims it. Another possible claimant would be General Pravit Wongsuwan, who is the leader of the Plum Chart Party, the third biggest party in the coalition, and indeed it was the senators that was aligned with him who had instigated the judicial case against Prime Minister Srettha in the first place. And so there is a possibility that he might want to claim the premiership for himself, although with relatively fewer seats than Pheu Thai and Poonchai Thai, it would be a harder ask.
Oh, thanks so much for explaining all that to us. Mathis Lohatepanont, live for us there from Bangkok.